Dre, I wanted to kind of ask you and D, especially because out of you all are newer fathers, and you all have experienced, bringing life into the world, or at least helping. And I wanted to ask you all, like, do you feel like that moment when we talk about like miracles? Obviously, we all know how like important it is to have a healthy baby, or just how much of a blessing it could be to have a healthy baby. And that moment, did that moment kind of feel like a miracle to you all? What kind of like, where was the divinity, the emotion in that moment for you all?
Well, me personally, give me a second.
I'll go, Dre, while you dealing with whatever you dealing with.
Terrorism.
You got a foot on somebody's neck.
Dre running people down right now.
Talking about hands up. Hold on.
For me, is honestly, none of that really. The first thing that hit my head when Dez came out was, golly, how are my bills going to change? if I'm being honest, that's the first thing that hit is how my bills going to change. But the birth for me wasn't really, I didn't really have that thought process during birth because everything's happening so fast. And it's just like, that's nasty. Oh, that's cool. Look at this baby. It's like, a baby. And then it's like, it's just so much different things going on. Right. But it's like the period now. So like, when Dez can watch me do something and then he does it, and then like seeing like Weston go from being like this big to this big,
right?
Like, it's just the little things like that, and like starting to hear Weston's voice. Before he would just like cry, but now he's like making noises like a voice. Yeah, that's when I feel and see that
for sure.
And then I don't know, just the learning process. And then like the other day, Ayla was like, Dez, can you say Jesus? And he goes, Jesus. Yeah. It's just stuff like stuff like that I see that is cool to me, and
that's fair.
And that's kind of too, like, I don't know. It's just like on the podcast before Dez was born, Dad was talking about it, and then Mr. Jeff, you was actually talking about it too. This was right. This Ayla was pregnant, but you was talking about the different feeling you're gonna have once you become a father, and so. It's just you have a different appreciation for God. So I have a different type of love for Ayla. I have a different type of love for life. I have a different appreciation for God and his blessings, because like the stuff that keeps them alive, I don't know. I just have to thank God for just the grace. So it's just a different perspective on life from having those two little hard-headed kids.
For sure. And crazy too. You. Oh, Dre, was you about to say something?
Yeah, I made it back. So. Me personally, when my kid was born, it was definitely like an eye opener for me, just because you see and hear about all the time when people have pregnancies and they don't make it, or for instance, not even 2 weeks ago, somebody else, one of my coworkers, she just gave birth to her kid like 3 or 4 months early, and the kid died within a couple hours.
Wow.
So it's definitely a miracle to me that they make it full term, and then like Dee said, to watch them actually like grow and develop and do new tricks and do new things all the time, and it's definitely a blessing and a miracle to watch it happen, because it doesn't have to happen that way.
Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about like where we see God at, so now that I'm having this conversation with you all, obviously, so I don't have any kids, and so while you all might be able to see God in that, I've been able to see God when I've fallen really deep in love with just nature, trees, grass, sky, water, all of that. And whenever I have moments to be still and just like absorb what's in front of me, sometimes me and my girlfriend will be like, man, it's kind of crazy how like all of this just looks like how a painting would look. Mm-hmm. Like the same way we just talked about your paintings, and we look at like God's creations, the water, the trees. And those moments of stillness, I would say, kind of reflecting on our conversation, is when I'm like, oh, okay, that's my burning bush. Mm.
So how do you handle when someone says there is no God, or it's a white man's religion, or something like that?
I never do well in those conversations. I'm always like, this person crazy. Or you know what? To be real, honestly, I am always, I can sometimes be kind of like Gen Z with it, and be like everybody entitled to believe in what they believe in. Only because I don't always feel like going to war with everybody. I don't always want to suit up and go to battle. Sometimes I just want to go to bed.
You messed up. I see they coming. These two right here coming.
Not really though, because actually, I mean, not saying something sometime is the right approach, because God said, "Don't cast your pearl before swine." What He's saying is, every argument, every situation doesn't require you to have to respond, because sometimes those people aren't ready. They're not ready for the message of Christ. So all you're going to end up is a useless, what the Bible calls a useless argument, that when you both walk away, nobody's the better for.
So, question, Mr. Jeff, how do you know when it's a useless argument and you have to, plant a seed?
Most of the time, it's like you can kind of tell where the question is going. One of the things that I try to do is find a common ground point, a biblical common ground point. So when people start those conversations, okay, what do you believe about this? And once they start to talk, you can kind of tell, okay, this isn't going to take us anywhere, because they have a totally different mindset and a belief than I have. And if we start this, all we'll end up doing is battling. And like I say, neither one of us will come. So I'll just say, you know what? I have something to do. I'm going to leave out of here, and maybe we can come back another time when we want to talk about it.
That actually leads me to this question. And I had a discussion. Andre and I actually had a discussion about this too. It's like the Bible and war. It's like, in the Bible, and Andre had brought up a good point. In the Bible, it talks about, love your enemies, all this good stuff. And then also in the Bible, there's war. And then you have like the Crusades and all this other stuff. How does the Bible correlate with wars and battles that we've had? If
I could just jump in too, to be honest with you all, I feel like there are certain constants in life. There are it's always going to be people that are violent. There are always going to be people who are power hungry. There are always going to be people who take things to the extreme. And even, I feel like from my experience growing up, in a Christian home, even sometimes as Christians, there are people who go to the extreme and are willing to, do whatever to change somebody's belief or do whatever to oppose their belief on somebody. And so, what I try not to fall into is conversations about the world being perfect because of God, and that the world is supposed to be perfect because of God or because of a religion or because of the Bible. And sometimes that can be, from my experience, that's been people's argument. If it was God, why is it war? If it was God, why is it crime? If it was God, why? And it's like, all right, dude, the world not about to be a utopia, bro.
Well, one way to look at that is like the temperature now is like high 80s and stuff, so it's hot, right? But if you
103 over here,
if you remove the heat, what do you have?
Yeah,
you have cold. And like light. If you remove the light, you have what? Darkness. Yeah. So the challenge is people removing God out of their life. So now you have turmoil, chaos, sin, because why? God is removed. And so when you asked a question earlier about, if God sends people to hell, well, they send themselves, because they remove God out of their life. He doesn't want anyone to perish. But when you don't accept him, if you don't live your life according to what he's command, the result of it is not good. And so when you look at it like that, but there's some people like you said, they just want everything perfect. I was like, well, you're not listening anyway.